requested Prithu to forgive Indra, because Indra is one of the servants of Lord Krishna. So the Lord said that Indra is actually doing my service, so he has come to beg your forgiveness. So please forgive him. And Prithu Maharaj, when Prithu saw the Supreme Lord Vishnu face to face, he was so happy that he had tears in his eyes. He started shivering in bliss to see the Supreme Lord, because even though he was a partial incarnation of God, still he was very attracted to the Supreme Personality of God. So in that way, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not step on the ground. When the demigods come into this earth, they fly over the ground. They maintain some distance of 1 or 2 feet. They don't step on this earth. But when the Supreme Lord came to meet Prithu Maharaj, he saw the great devotion of Prithu, and the Supreme Lord actually stepped down and purified the earth. And then he blessed Prithu. He asked Prithu, what do you want? Prithu recited one verse. He said, Tulyamalavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya Martyanam Kimutashishaha. That my dear Lord, if you want to bless me, you bless me one thing. What do you want? I don't want mukti, apunarbhavan. Neither I want swarga, neither I want bhukti, material happiness. I want only one thing. I want the association of those who are associating with you. Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya. To associate with those great souls who are associating with Bhagavan is the greatest benediction for the souls of Kali Yuga, because simply by associating with them, the souls directly become dear to Bhagavan. Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya. One moment of associating with the great soul cannot be compared to millions of years in Swargaloka of heavenly happiness. So Prithu is asking to Lord, please give me always the association of those who are dear to you. And the Lord was very happy and he blessed Prithu. And ultimately, Prithu ruled the earth, the whole universe for thousands of years. And then ultimately Prithu retired in the Himalayas. And he meditated on the Supreme Lord. He divided his wealth equally among all his. He ate the roots of trees, and he ate fruits and dry leaves. For many weeks, he performed severe austerities. In summer season, he was sitting around blazing fires, and in winter season, he would enter into ice-cold water and try to control his senses and focus them on the Supreme Lord. In that way, through the process of Ashtanga Yoga, he perfected his spiritual sadhana, and he fully captured the Lord in his heart, and he blocked all his senses, and the fire engulfed him, and he went to the Vaikuntha planets. His wife also, Archi, she was also very, very devoted. She also entered into the funeral pyre with Prithu Maharaj, and with both of them had got 2 separate aeroplanes, and then they went to Vaikuntha Loka. So who wants this kind of aeroplanes to come for them? Everybody wants. But who wants to start chanting? Who wants to do Bhakti Yoga? Only way to go to Vaikuntha is Bhakti Yoga. Chanting the holy, and Bhakti Yoga begins by chanting the holy name. Tana Nama Grahanaditi. Everything else comes afterwards. So, those who are serious about going back to Godhead, Nate Viduswartha Gatim Vishnu, they should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord during this life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Nityananda. Smritayo Sadatam Vishnu Vismritavyo na Jatu Chit. Continuously think about Krishna and never forget him if you want to go to Vaikuntha. Prepare yourself for Vaikuntha. Then we become qualified. That is our passport and that is our visa and that is our ticket to Vaikuntha. What is the ticket to Vaikuntha? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Nitya. Actually, Bhagavatam says that when we are chanting the Naam, our aeroplane is being manufactured in Vaikuntha. When we are chanting the name, the Lord is actually making our aeroplane ready. Asannapi kleshad ashade. And when we engage in sinful activities, our next animal body is becoming ready. So what do you want to do? Do papa or chant the Nama? You want animal body or you want Vaikuntha aeroplane? Even children can understand. Very easy. So we should avoid all inauspicious activities and chant the name of the Lord continuously. Then we are assured of the supreme destination at the time of our death. So in that way we conclude the 4th canto now. Since we have only 3 days remaining, we will go over the story of the Prachetas, the 10,000 Prachetas. They were the sons of Brahma, and these Prachetas were very, very fortunate to associate directly with Lord Shiva, the greatest Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. And Shiva instructed them not to marry and to worship the Supreme Lord first, and then they can marry later. First become great devotees of the Lord. So the Prachetas, they performed a lot of austerities. They actually, because the 10,000 Prachetas, they did austerity for 10,000 years. They meditated on the Lord for 10,000 years, and in the later part of their time, they went into deep water, and inside water they stayed for 10,000 years without breathing. They controlled their breath for 10,000 years, and they meditated on the Supreme Lord because they were desirous of having darshan of the Lord. And this was somewhere around Mount Sumeru in the higher planetary systems. So the Lord became very pleased, and he mounting Garuda, standing again with his 800 form, he appeared inside the water to the Prachetas. He gave his darshan to the Prachetas, and he was looking very beautiful with his dazzling helmet and his 8 hands. And the Lord spoke in a voice like thunder. His voice is not like us. His voice is so grave and so deep, and every word has so many different meanings. His unlimited, his divine voice. So in that way, when the Prachetas folded their hands, and even the Prachetas also asked the same thing from the Lord. They said that, my dear Lord, please give us your remembrance life after life. We don't mind if you want us to take rebirth. We are ready to take rebirth also in this material world. But always please bless us so that we will never forget you. So that wherever we remain, we will become Vaikuntha. When we are chanting the name of the Lord, wherever we are in the heaven or in the Narka or in the Bhurloka, wherever we are, it is equal to Vaikuntha, because we are relishing the nectar in the holy name. So in that way the Prachetas prayed, and then when the Prachetas came out of the water, they saw that in the absence of the king, the whole earth was covered by trees. Trees had engulfed the whole earth. There was no place to even walk. So Prachetas, by their dint of their mystic power, from their eyes, the whole earth was covered by trees. But from their eyes, fire came out and they burned all the trees away. And when they were burning the trees, the whole earth started becoming treeless. And when the whole earth started becoming treeless, Brahma came down and requested Prachetas, please stop now, please stop, don't become so angry. All the trees will go away, then you will not be able to breathe. So the trees also became very happy that Prachetas have stopped burning all the trees. Then the predominating devata of the tree came out, and they gave their daughter Marisha as a wife to the Prachetas. So all the 10 Prachetas married the daughter of the trees. And from that, all the 10 Prachetas, they impregnated the daughter Marisha, and from them Daksha Prajapati was again born. As we saw how Daksha was got the head of a goat and he lost all his pious credits. So he was again born in Chakshusha Manu. This is that story was Swayambhu Manu. This is Chakshusha Manu. He was again born as Daksha in Chakshusha Manu as the son of the Prachetas. And this time he was very careful to worship Lord Shiva in a humble manner. So by the blessings of Shiva, he became a great controller, and he again created the universe. He helped Brahma to create in Chakshusha Manu. In that way, further Daksha produced 10,000 Hashlivas, 10,000 sons to increase the progeny. But whenever the sons were produced, Narada would go to them and instruct them about celibacy, and they would not marry. He produced 10,000 Hashlivas, then he produced another 10,000 sons, then he produced another 60,000 sons. But everyone got instructions of Narada and they became renounced. So Daksha became very angry and he cursed Narada. Oh Narada, I am doing this on the order of Brahma to increase the progeny, and who are you to go and instruct them about Brahmacharya? And you are making them renounced. So I curse you, Narada, that any place you go, you will not be able to stay very long. You will only be able to stay for a very short time. They cursed Narada. So Narada was very happy. He said, oh, this is a very good curse, because anyway, my business is to go around everywhere and deliver so many souls. So Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada also writes in the commentary that when he went to America, the American youngsters, the hippies, they came to him and they shaved their head and they became brahmacharis. So the parents of the youngsters also cursed Prabhupada. You have converted all our sons into brahmacharis, so we curse you. So Prabhupada said, that is also why am I not able to stay fixed for long period in one place. So he also travelled all over the world 14 times. He travelled all over the world spreading the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so this curse can be utilized as a benediction, so that we can. So Narada was very happy. So he is always travelling. He is not fixed in any place. He is delivering everywhere, wherever he goes. So in that way, we complete the 4th canto of Bhagavatam. And we move on to the 5th canto now. We come to the story of King Priyavrata. Actually what happened is after Uttanpad and Priyavrata, both were the original sons of Brahma. So after Uttanpad, Dhruva, and after Dhruva, Utkala, and like that the generations went down. But after the Pracheta, there was no one to rule the whole universe. So Brahma, actually Swayambhu Manu, he became very disturbed. Swayambhu Manu and Narada Muni both are standing, and we see here Priyavrata is standing. So Priyavrata actually was had gone into the Himalayas near the Gandhamadhan mountain, and he was meditating on the Supreme Lord. He did not want to become the king of the universe. He did not want to take up the management duties because he was so immersed in remembering the Lord. So he was thinking, if I take up the management of the universe as a king, I will forget Krishna. I will not get any time to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Nityananda. in that way, Swayambhu Manu requested Priyavrata, please, my dear Priyavrata, please become the king of the universe. There is nobody now except you. But Priyavrata was not exactly agreeing, again because Narada had given him instruction about renunciation. Narada. So ultimately, when he saw that Priyavrata is not agreeing, Lord Brahma himself flew from the swan from Brahmaloka, and he arrived there, and Lord Brahma requested Priyavrata that, my dear Priyavrata, you will take charge of the universe. That is also devotional service to the Lord. As I am your superior and your guru, I am telling you, you should take up this responsibility. I bless you that even though you become the king of the universe, you will never forget Krishna. I give you that blessing. You don't worry, and you please take over this task because only you are qualified. So see, considering himself as inferior to Brahma, Priyavrata accepted the situation, and he became the king of the universe, and he married Barhismati, the wife of Prajapati Vishwakarma, and he had 10 sons which were headed by Agnidra. Unfortunately, when he was begetting Agnidra as his son, he became more lusty. He was very, very lusty. And at that time, he begat his first son, Agnidra. So Agnidra turned out to be a very lusty man. At the time of procreation, whatever the consciousness of the parents are there, that kind of soul is attracted in the womb of the mother. So in that way, when Maharaj Priyavrata, actually we don't have much time actually to cover all the pastimes of Priyavrata, but Maharaj Priyavrata one brief pastime, one extraordinary pastime is that once Maharaj Priyavrata saw that the sun is not giving proper light to the universe. In the first 6 months of the year, the sun is traveling on the northern side. So more light is on the northern side, less light is on the southern side. And the next 6 months, the Uttarayan and the Dakshinayan, the sun is more on the southern side and the less light is there on the northern side. So Priyavrata mounted his chariot and he followed the sun god Vivashwan on his chariot. And because his chariot was so magnificent and huge, by the rims of his chariot, when he was following, the 7 seas were created in this universe. The 7 oceans, they separated Bhumandala, they were created by the chariot. That is unfortunately that slide I don't have. They were created by the chariot of Priyavrata, and ultimately Priyavrata gave his sovereignty to his sons, and he made Agnidra the king of Jambudvip. All the 7 islands he divided to his different sons in the universe. And then he again also, as per Narad Muni's instructions, he meditated on the Supreme Lord, and he also attained Vaikuntha. Then after him, Agnidra took over the ruling of this earth, of the Jambudvip. But Agnidra wanted a very good wife, very beautiful wife, because he was very lusty in nature. He did not want an ordinary wife. So Agnidra went to the forest near the place where the Apsaras, they come to dance and to relish their, enjoy their vacation. He went to that place, heavenly place, and there he sat down in meditation. Actually he was meditating on Brahma, but he was wanting a very beautiful wife so that he could enjoy his life and he could procreate some children. So Brahma, in Brahmaloka, he was doing some Sankirtana with his Apsaras. Brahma came to know Agnidra's desire. So Brahma selected the most beautiful Apsara among all. Her name was Purvachitti, and he sent her to Agnidra. And Agnidra, Purvachitti was so extraordinarily beautiful that nobody could resist her charm. Even the demigods would fall a victim to her playful movements, her shyness, her humility, her glances very easily. And in fact, she was so beautiful that bees were always humming around her, and her voice was totally, capturing everyone. And it looked like she was personified Cupid. Come, and Agnidra was totally enchanted. His meditation broke up, and he looked at like meditation, but he was looking at Purvachitti, and ultimately he became so attracted to Purvachitti, so infatuated, he started glorifying Purvachitti like God himself. He says, "My dear God, why have you come here? Why are you attracting my mind? And who are you? And why are you playing with this ball?" In that way, Agnidra got attracted and he forgot all his meditation. And ultimately, he was very expert in convincing Purvachitti by speaking. And because of Agnidra's good bodily beauty, his kingdom, his intelligence, Purvachitti became attracted by Agnidra, and they stayed together and they enjoyed for many thousands and thousands of years. And then they got sons like Nabhi, Kim Purusha, Harivarsha, Ilavrita, Ramya, Kahiranya, Guru, Bhadrashava and Ketumala. And they were all very strong by drinking the breast milk of Purvachitti. Very strong. But Agnidra, this lust is a kind of a thing which the more you indulge in it, the more stronger it becomes. So even after enjoying with Purvachitti for thousands of years, then Purvachitti wanted to say Pranam to Brahma, go back to Brahma Loka. So Purvachitti returned to Brahma Loka, but Agnidra was still lusty after that. He gave up his kingdom, he went to the forest, he wanted praying, I want to go to Purvachitti, wherever she is. He took some grass and straw and he separated it into two parts. And ultimately he died thinking of Purvachitti, so he attained the planet where Purvachitti was staying. So this is very unfortunate that na karuna, na trapa, no pashanti. That serving Krishna and serving lust are two different things. When we serve Krishna, then our senses become peaceful and satisfied. But when we serve our lusty desires, our senses become fiery and always demanding more, give me more, give me more. Thousands of years he enjoyed, but still he was not satisfied. Give me more, give me more. So will you serve a boss who is satisfied with your service, or will you serve a boss who is always wanting more? Whom will you serve? Who is satisfied? Who will give you bonus, vacation? If you work hard, you will not serve a boss who will constantly demand, give me, give me. So we are constantly lusty, we have been lusty for thousands of our past lives, and we have been giving to our senses whatever they want. The senses say, oh, take that, we say, okay, take that. See that movie, we go there. Eat this food, we do that. Do this, do that. We are following the demands. We are actually slaves of our senses for so many lives, but still the senses are hankering more and more and more. They are demanding. Even in old age, they don't leave us. So the real intelligence means one life we should give to service of Krishna instead of serving our senses, because the name of Krishna is Rishikesha. Rishika means our senses and Isha means the master. So the master of our senses is Krishna. So if one life we give our senses for the pleasure of Krishna, then it will be so, we will not get next life, we will go to Vaikuntha. But if we give our life after life in the service of our senses, then we have to become dog and hog and pig and cockroach and butterfly. So many births we have to take as per our desires. So then Agnidra's son was Nabhi, and Nabhi conducted a sacrifice to please Lord Vishnu, to have a son like Lord Vishnu. He wanted to have a son like Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu flying on Garuda came and said, my dear Nabhi, you have performing a sacrifice to get a son like me, but unfortunately there is nobody like me in this world. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Mattaha partaram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. Oh Lord, oh Arjuna, there is nobody para, is higher, or tara, is equal to me. Nobody is equal to me or nobody is higher to me. I am the Supreme Lord, Krishna. So if you want to have a son like me, it is not possible. I have to become your son. That is the only way it is possible. So the Lord said, okay, I will become your son, Nabhi. In that way, Nabhi was so happy to have the Lord as son, and the Lord incarnated in the womb of Nabhi's wife, Meru Devi, and his name became Rishabdev. Rishabdev Bhagavan ki. The partial incarnation of God. He came and his soles were marked with flag, thunderbolt, lotus flower, like that. He was very beautiful. He had all the symptoms of incarnation. But Nabhi was very attached to his son. He forgot all his kingdom management, everything else. He became very, very attached to his son, because his son was none other than the Supreme Lord. In that way, King Nabhi was overcome with parental feelings for the Lord. Yam yam vapi smarana bhavam. In the Brahma Samhita it is said, Yam krodha kama sahajadi pranayadi bhiti vatsalya moha guru gaurava sevya bhavai sanchintya sadrisham tanuma purete govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. If you want to enjoy parental love, then you consider God as your child. If you want to enjoy Guru and Seva Bhav, then you accept Lord as your Guru and His representative as your Guru, and you serve the Lord in that way. If you are very envious, then you become envious of God. If you are very greedy, then you become greedy to attain God. If you are very lusty, then you become lusty to attain God. Channelize all your propensities for the Lord, and then the Lord will purify you, and He will manifest that form as per your desire. And He will appear in front of you, like He appeared in front of Maharaj as Nabhi, as King Rishabdev. So King Rishabdev, he was the king. He became the king after Maharaj Nabhi left his home, and Maharaj Nabhi went to the forest to perform austerities on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rishabdev, first of all, he practiced Brahmacharya ashram in the Gurukul. Actually, the Vedic system is 25 years Brahmacharya, 25 years Grihastha, 25 years Vanprastha, and 25 years Sannyas. Because the average age in Kali Yuga is how much? It was 100 years at the beginning of Kali Yuga. Now the average age has become how much? 60 years. So technically 15 years Brahmacharya, 15 years Grihastha, 15 years Vanprastha, and 15 years Sannyas. Who is ready for that? So at 45 years you should, how much? 15 plus 15 plus 45 years, every one of you should take sannyas. If I tell you, you will all run away from the katha. So, but because the lifespan has reduced, so that is why we have to become even more serious in our devotion in Kali Yuga. Those who practice Brahmacharya for 25 years, they become ideal householders. Because when you practice to control your senses, then when you marry, in married life, one can live a very, very peaceful life devoted to the Lord. But when one has not practiced Brahmacharya ashram before marriage, when one marries, then in marriage one acts like cats and dogs. Totally trying to enjoy one's senses. That is why the Vedic system was that you learn first, the women, they are trained in chastity, and the men, they are trained in brahmacharya, celibacy, before marriage. And then when they marry, their combination is very conducive to achieve the supreme. It is known as Grihastha ashram. But nowadays in Kali Yuga, the brahmacharya training is not there. Children, when they are in America, they are 13 years of age, they are becoming pregnant. Everywhere in colleges and universities. So how can the married life can be auspicious? It is very difficult. The senses, the training is not there. So, but Rishabdev, to teach the whole society for 25 years, he practiced Brahmacharya in the Gurukul, and then he married Jayanti, who was given to him by Indra, and he got 100 sons. And the eldest son, who was his eldest son? None of you know that. The name of our country is on the name of his son. The name of the whole earth planet actually. Bharat. His name is Bharat Maharaj.